Hello, whimsically musical teachers. If you're new around here, my name's Rainey Barton and I'm an elementary music teacher for grades K through 5 in Central Florida, and this is my 6th year of teaching and I absolutely love it. And I made this channel to help all music teachers and help them inspire active music making with their students and instill a love and appreciation of music into the heart of every child. And so we will be sharing all sorts of music teacher tips, tricks, strategies, things that have worked in my classroom, things that haven't, so that you don't repeat my mistakes, and all of that wonderful good stuff. So in today's video, we are going to be talking all about how to create a lesson flow or a sequence of events that you can repeat for all of your lessons. Because as soon as I started implementing the same sort of routine for my students and sequence, they knew what was coming, and children thrive off of routines. They thrive off of routines. So why not implement routines in the music room? And it makes your job that much easier when you're lesson planning, which we know we want to make lives easier when it comes to lesson planning. So let's dive in with how I sequence my typical music class and then different tips and tricks for implementing your own routine into your classroom. Now, before I get started, I just want to say that this is my classroom routine. It doesn't have to be the same as yours. We have different classes, we have different grade levels, we have different schools. What works for me might not work for you. My intention behind all of this is to help you hopefully get an idea of what you could have your class routine look like, and then you just create your own from there. So I'm just going to share what's been working well for me. And the first thing that you do want to have pretty much across the board, though, in any classroom is an opening or a warm-up routine. Which, if you don't have one set up, I actually did a video about a month ago on that. I will link it up here somewhere on warm-ups for your opening routine for class. But essentially, I'll just breeze through mine super quick. The students come in, we do a couple of stretches up high, roll the shoulders out, side to side, and then we move immediately into vocal exploration. So I'll have them go through stuff like whoop, whoop, ollie, ollie, oop, and so that they're getting their voices prepped. Then we do breathing gym. So I have this cute little hydrosphere, and when I open it, they have to take a nice big breath, and when I close it, they have to go shh, shh, shh with all of their breath. And then after the breathing, we do some rhythm practices. So if we're doing tiga tiga, then I'll just have them copy me on different parts of the body, like, or things like that. And then we always end, which this year we're not ending with this because we're not supposed to actually sing in class, but we would normally end with melodic patterns, and it would match whatever they are doing. So if they're working on mi, re, do, I would have a lot of those. I would go like do, re, mi, re, do, mi, re, do. And then that was really low. But anyway, that's what we do. And typically, the last melodic pattern or rhythmic pattern will tie directly into the next song or activity that we are doing. But having a warm-up routine is really great for your students anyway, so they know what to expect. And it's a real crowd pleaser when you're getting evaluated by your administration. So the first thing is to add some sort of warm-up routine. Okay, the next thing that I've been implementing into my classrooms is doing some sort of introduction to a new song. But we're not doing the game with the song today or doing the instruments with the song. Or simply learning the song and getting it into their brains, so that next week we can steam on right ahead with that song and actually use it to introduce a specific concept. So for example, let's do Tidy-O, because I just did that with my kids in 2nd grade because we're about to be introducing Tiga Tiga. So I actually used the distance version learning of the song Tidy-O, a little movement activity with Victoria Bowler. So I will tag her Instagram down below because she's really great at all of that stuff. But basically, you take the song and you introduce it to them in some sort of way. So for example, with the Tidy-O one, I had them listen to it a couple of times, and then they got to create moves for like each part. So I had them make a move for tap when it says, tap 1 window, Tidy-O, tap 2 windows, Tidy-O, tap 3 windows, Tidy-O, jingle at the window, Tidy-O. So for tap, they could either snap, clap, or pat. And then jingle at the window, they had to look like they were jingling at the window. And then on the really two high notes of the song, high-dee-oo, tidy-oo, I had them just raise their hands up nice and high. And this is all that I learned from Victoria Bowler, so I can't take credit for this. But it turns into a little movement activity for them because they're going, tap one window, tidy-o, tap two windows, tidy-o, tap three windows, tidy-o, jingle at the window, tidy-o, 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 jingle at the window, tidy-o, 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 jingle at the window, tidy-o. And then they're getting, once you get a song kinesthetic into them and orally and visually, it's able to stay a lot easier than others. And so that was a perfect way of introducing that song, because next week we're going to actually be doing the movement game with it. And then I'm going to actually be breaking that down. That's going to be the introduction song of how I actually introduced Tigga Tigga with my second graders. So taking a song and introducing it. Another example I have is I used Naughty Kitty Cat with my with my first graders last week. And we had it to where I only taught the song, and they learned how to sing the song and add the meows, and they learned all the song. And then the next week I introduced the game, and then the next week I introduced the slides that had the taw rest, because that's the song that I use for taw rest. So just taking a song, introducing it, but knowing that you don't have to do everything with it in that lesson. Typically after that, I will do some sort of movement activity just to get my students moving and grooving, because kids cannot sit down for too long. I always like to try to teach a little bit, do some movement, teach a little bit, do like a song, teach a little bit, so that they're still learning, but they're also still moving. There are tons of movement activities out there that you could do. You could do folk dances. You could just do like a follow the leader type of deal, mirroring with a partner. I mean, there's literally like no end to all of the different movement stuff that you could do. Oh, it was one that I did the other day. What's it called? Round the Brickyard? Round the Brickyard, be after me. I'm gonna shake it, shake it, shake it, and remember me. I can't remember what the name of that song is. But we just, all around the brickyard, yes. We just did that the other day in first grade, and we were practicing our locomotor movement. So they had to give me different ones like jump, skip, pop, swim, all that stuff. But there's so many. I'm not going to give a lot of examples. I'm sure you can think of some movement activities that you can use in your classroom. After you've done that and they've learned a song or so and they've done their warm-up and they've done their movement activity, that's when you get to the meaty part of the lesson. Whatever you're doing, whether it's introducing a rhythmic concept, whether it's practicing a melodic concept, that is the bulk part of your lesson. So that's where you take out the slides and you have them practicing on beat charts, or where you have your their little things in front of them and they're practicing their notations for soul and me. This is the part where they're really starting to use like notation and literacy and putting it all together to actually teach and process a concept. So this is definitely the practice phase of Kadai if you do Kadai. I'm not trained in Kadai. I want to be really bad. They don't have any in Florida, but I like to use the practices of Kadai. I am more ORF trained. I've done levels 1 and 2 of ORF, and they don't do prepare, practice, present. But this would definitely be the present or the practice part of this. So this is where you're actually taking those concepts and you're expanding them further. Like I said, through notation, through literacy, all of that types of stuff. And of course, you want to make sure that you're actually doing music making with them. So if you can incorporate instruments with it, or a chance to let them improvise or compose or some sort of thing that actually lets them make music to practice the concept, because we want them making music, make sure to do that as well. Whether it's a rhythm play along or boom whackers or xylophones or recorders if you're feeling really ballsy, or ukuleles, whatever you can do to help them also make music in the process. The next thing I do is add a book in my lessons. I add a book for every lesson if I can, and typically we will just read the book maybe the first day, and then we will add the activity the second day. So for example, I just did Duck Rabbit with my first graders because we're behind in learning Ta and Titi, and I used Duck Rabbit to introduce that. I'll put a link below if you want to see more about Duck Rabbit. I'll probably talk about that soon, but that book is just the whole time it's like, oh, it's a duck. No, it's a rabbit, because it looks like both. And so I used that with my kids. I introduced it in the first week and we just practiced duck and rabbit patterns. And then the next week when we read it, I actually told them duck is now Ta and rabbit is Titi, and their minds were like, oh, whoa. But anyway, I always use a book. You can use a book at any time in your lesson. If your kids have been really rowdy, it's really great to use it as a song tail at the end, which I also have a video on how I use books in my classroom. So I'll also link that up here, because I've already gone through a couple of different ways that you can use books. But I like to use a book at this point in the lesson, and I will always just introduce the concept and then tie it on to the next lesson. So I'll either be reading a book, like a new book, or I'll be reading the same book but expanding and adding stuff to it. And depending on how much time we have, I will either add another like mini teaching section. So it's like still like part of the meaty part of it, but not as much. So this might be where we just read through another rhythm play along, or we, I don't know, we just go through our beat charts really quickly. Like the bulk of the lesson was earlier, but this is just like a tag along to help accompany. But if I don't have time for that, then I'll just do the closing activity, which the closing activity will always have some sort of assessment tied to it. I really like to do exit tickets either at the beginning of class or close to the end. And like, for example, with 2nd and 4th grade, they have a test coming up at the end of the year. And so I'm trying to make all of their questions test-related questions. So it'll be a really quick, what does tempo mean? And they'll have to write it on their Post-it note. Or I'll have like 4 answers on the board and I'll be like, listen to this song, what is the tempo of this piece? And then they'll tell me and all of that. But you should always be assessing your students so that you can actually see right then and there if they understood what you talked about. Because if you taught about tempo the whole class and then you ask them to say what tempo is at the end and they still can't do it, it means that you didn't teach it well enough for them to have caught a handle on it. And feel like sometimes we have this issue of thinking that students understand a concept, and then we get to where, example, in 5th grade, some of my babies were still struggling with like tigga tigga and stuff, and I thought that we had a solid grasp on that. No such thing, my dear. No such thing. But anyway, it's okay, but you want to have some sort of assessment, which I am not the queen of assessment, so I will also link an assessment course here that I am about to be purchasing from also Victoria Bowler. She's just a wonderful elementary musical person, but she has a course all on assessment. So if you're looking to dive further into that, I'll definitely recommend that as well. But end with some sort of closing activity. And then last but not least, which this could probably be a video in and of itself and will probably come soon, is transitions. I don't like to waste any transition time, so I will always have it connect to the next thing. So for example, if I know that we're about to read a story, but they were just moving around like bunnies because maybe it's Easter time and they were doing a bunny hop activity, I will have them hop like a bunny back to their spot. And then we immediately get back to their spot. I'm in my chair, I read the book. Or if we were singing a song, and we were in a circle, we were singing a song in our seat and I needed them to make a circle, I would maybe say, I'm going to sing the song, or we're going to sing the song one time, and by the end of the song, you need to be in a circle. And that way they're singing the song, which helps them practice it more before they actually get to the circle. And you're not wasting any time, because if you give students even a minute, they're just going to be talking and gossiping and gabbing, and it's going to take you doing, which I hate doing, but I am notorious at doing it myself, the infamous. I always try to change it and make it something else, and then my kids end up doing that one anyway, and I go, you didn't listen to me because I did this. And they're like, oh. But anyway, yes, so transitions are equally as important. You want to make sure that you know how each lesson is going to flow from the next. Something I've done that's been really helpful is actually writing my transitions into my lesson plan so that I know how am I going to connect these two activities? Oh, through this transition. And so if that's something that you want to implement into your own lesson plans, I highly recommend it, because transitions can make or break the class. They really can. Okay, so let's whiz through really quickly one more time the sequence of events for my lessons that I use, and then hopefully you can get some ideas for how you can do it in yours. So the first thing is the warm-up routine. You want some sort of activity so that when the kids walk through the door, I know exactly what to expect and you can get them ready and prepped for the day's music lesson. Then after that, I'm looking at my notes really quick. Then we introduce a new song material. This is typically a song that you are going to use to expand on a rhythmic or melodic concept that is coming up next in the future. So the example I gave was Tideo, because I was teaching my kids, or they're going to be learning soon, Tigga Tigga, 16th notes. Then I do some sort of movement activity to get them moving and grooving. And after we've done our movement activity, we sit on down and we do the meat and potatoes of the lesson, the major behavioral objective. That's where you are really focusing on whatever musical concept is being introduced at that time, whether it's form, tempo, rhythms, melodies, all of that stuff. Then that's where I add a piece of literature, because I also like including the literature since my students are not necessarily where they should be in literature, so we can discuss theme and plot and sequence of events, and any way that I can help my teachers in some way and help them with their reading. It makes me feel really good. Then if we have time, we end with a little bit more of like the meat and potatoes. So this is like, I don't know, as you're clearing your plate, like that last little bit, so like another rhythm play along or another melody sing along or something like that nature. But most often we end up with just an assessment in the closing routine, and they have the same process for how they line up each and every time. I typically will ask them a question to say, if your favorite color is blue, line up, or I'll just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 line up, because most of them have a line order and they know that their teacher is going to expect them to be in line order, and then class is basically over. So I will put the sequence down there below. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, this is just how I do it. This is not how you need to do it. And if you do it a different way and it works really well for you, I would love to know in the comments down below. If this video was helpful for you in some way, then please make sure to like it, share it, subscribe, all of those things so that we can impact as many music educators as possible. And with that, I'm gonna go in my overalls, which I am so excited about that I bought. Like, oh my gosh, I love them so much. Anyway, I'm gonna get going. I have to film one more video, and if you see that blanket over there, that is because it is hiding a crapola of stuff. If you notice behind me, the backdrop's a little bit different. It's because I put the ring light behind my desk, which was the best decision I ever made. Because when I would do like Zoom calls and stuff, my ring light would be over here and I wouldn't use it, and I thought that was a waste. So now it's where I want it to be, but because of that, everything else is a hot mess. So I will go deal with that. And with that, I'll see you guys later. Bye.